Alright, how are we doing, lads? Gonna be another little episode today on our cannoning series. So last time we did cover order of entities and sort of how slab bust worked, and how TNT stacks on a wall. This episode, the first thing that I do want to cover is someone rightly pointed out in the comment section, thank you for that. I didn't sort of fully explain tunneling. So I had this rig here, and I also incorrectly said that tunneling needs to occur when TNT is on the same tick. That's actually not the case. So what actually happens is, while it does work here, I think TNT always tunnels on the last game tick of its flight. So on its very, very last game tick, so if we say had this dispenser here one game tick after, or let's make it 2 game ticks or 1 redstone tick after this one, it's not going to tunnel for this game tick here. It's not going to tunnel for like the following one, but it will tunnel for the very, very last one as the TNT goes into its final position. So that's a slight little correction that I will add there, is that you don't necessarily need it to be ordered like that. You can have it delayed by timings as well, sort of like that. So I'll sort of get into that more when I'm doing like variable range APs and stuff. But anyway, apart from that, we'll just hop straight into this video, which I'm actually not sure what we're going to be covering, to be honest. I haven't really planned this out particularly well. I just know that we need to be going towards our little 100 stacker. So what I might do for this video is I might explain how you can keep your sand as an entity. So what I mean by that is we sort of covered a couple of scenarios here with this cannon about how to actually get 10 sand out at a time. Oops. But for this scenario here, we're actually going to talk about how we can get several hundred pieces of TNT, or not pieces of TNT, sorry, pieces of sand to stay as an entity, which you can boost. So, as we talked about in the last video, or not the last video, but the video before, actually we did talk about in the last video, the fact that you need to order TNT or your sand in a certain way so that you can slab bust. So when we're talking about that, is obviously you need your sand rendered after your slab bust before your nuke. So you need your sand to be going off fairly early. Now you can't leave that sand in the air for a long time. So what we're going to talk about here is actually a little redstone contraption we can use to keep sand as an entity. So what we're going to need is we're going to need some pistons. Get ourselves some pistons. And we're going to need a bit of redstone. And what we're going to do here is we're going to set up a little plate. So if we get, say, 5 pistons here, well that's 6. I actually can't count today. And we get another 5 pistons here. There is a certain way in which you can pulse this so that it shuffles back and forwards. So this is called our sand plate. It's the actual thing that keeps all the sand as an entity. So basically, if we get a redstone block here, and we get some redstone out of that, we actually feed that redstone block there, you can see that starts shaking back and forth. Now that doesn't look particularly interesting on its own, but what we're going to do is we're going to put some, say, what's the word to describe this? Non-full height blocks in here. So what we're going to use are blocks like end rods, slabs, trapdoors, fence gates to an extent. Anything that's not a full height block you can use for this method. So what we're going to do is we're going to get some soul sand, because soul sand actually isn't a full block, for all of those who didn't know. And we're going to set it up just like this. So you can see there's a gap there. And basically what we're going to do from here is we are going to put a repeater in here. I'm just going to turn this off for the time being. And we're going to put a repeater on the other side as well. And I'm just going to run some redstone over the top. And some redstone over the top here as well. And we're going to feed it into this side. So when the piston's extended, this is being powered. When the piston's retracted, I'm actually just going to move that repeater back to there. When the piston's retracted, that repeater's going to be powered. And basically what you're going to see, boom, You can see this is now shaking from side to side. Now, while this doesn't look particularly impressive, what is quite interesting about this is that you can actually put sand on it. And this sand here, this is an entity. So you can see if we put our hitboxes on, you can see this sand has a hitbox. This sand is not a solid block right now. So this is called our sand plate. This is what we're going to be using to keep all our sand as an entity. So if we turn this back off again, you will see it does despawn. And we turn it back on again. And then we drop some sand into it. You can see that that sand there stays as an entity. So the next neat thing about this is you can actually use different types of non-full height blocks. And you can physically move this sand around. So let's get ourselves some chains. Chains are quite a solid block for people who are making their compressors. So if we do this, and then we do this, and now we fire this back up again, and we put some sand here, what's actually going to happen is it's going to land on the soul sand. This piston's going to push it forwards, shifting the chain underneath it, and then it's going to fall down onto that chain, and then the soul sand's going to push it back over. So this is called a conveyor comp, because it works in like a little conveyor belt. You can see there it does the same thing there. And we can actually expand this out. Oops, I actually did kind of screw that up there a little bit. If we say, expand this out a little bit, move 3 south, we can have any sort of amount of non-solid blocks in this area, and we can keep shuffling this sand along as long as the block that's following the block that we just placed is a lower height. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a row of slabs here, and then we're going to put a row of trapdoors here, and the smallest block we can actually use for this, and very, very handily, is a fence gate. So I talked a couple of episodes ago about how fence gates don't actually block exposure, and this is actually where they come in particularly handy. So what we're going to do here is we're going to fire this back up. You can see this entire thing moves. Another thing you need to know about this comp here is you can't use immovable blocks. So you can't use fucking obsidian, enchantment tables, that sort of thing. It's pretty much common sense, but it should be not. But if we get some sand, and we drop some sand here, you will see that shuffles it all the way down, and these fence gates keep it as an entity. So the reason why this is so powerful is that one thing that fence gates, or that blocks sand, but lets a lot of exposure through, is going to be a ladder. Hopefully you can all see where this is going now. So what we're actually going to do is we can have a row of ladders beneath this. We go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Our sand will not break when it hits that ladder. We put that back. We build up a little bit. And we put some sand in. Pushes onto the ladder. Doesn't break the ladder. So what I'm hinting at here is basically you can use boosters underneath this, provided that you have some blocks above. Standard triangling here. If you have some blocks above, and you say have a piece of TNT where that ladder is there, and you fire that sand, because that sand's still an entity, you're going to be able to push it forwards. And because it follows normal triangling, you're going to be able to boost it up as well. So basically what you can do here is you can have this shuffling plate. So when your cannon fires, you drop sand into this plate. This plate will shuffle the sand across to where your boosters are, and then your boosters will fire it. So that is sort of the fundamentals of our sand plate here. In the next video, I will be building a full compressor using a sand plate for 100 sand. So I'll be showing you how to set that up, how to put your boosters into it, some different ways you can wire up your boosters, and some different ways you can also wire up these pistons here. So apart from that, that's sort of this video done for now. So I will be seeing you all in the next one.